Welcome back. Let's continue with corporate social responsibility and look at the benefits from adopting a sustainability strategy. First of all, it can help reduce our energy costs, for example, in utility bills. Let's say we invest in more efficient machinery and less electricity is used. This can reduce our overall costs. It can help improve our brand reputation and public relations because we're visibly seen to be investing in sustainability strategies. We're sending a positive message to the community. It can also help increase customer and staff loyalty, greater retention of employees, and customers and staff being happy to be associated with the organisation. We're not just looking at being the cheapest, but we're looking at being the best value in terms of cost, but having a sustainable reputation as well. It also helps an organisation to manage risk by going through a sustainability strategy. What we're doing in that process is we're looking at the whole business, taking a holistic view and asking where we're not perhaps being as sustainable as we could be, where can we improve? And by adopting such strategies, it reduces the risk of any legislation being forced onto us into the future. It can also help improve internal and external relationships, for example, through community services, staffing policies, and customer services. We can consider our suppliers in there as well. So let's have a look at lecture example 1, reputation impact of sustainability. Here, every individual answer is going to be different because we're here considering the business that you work for. Does the business you work for go over and above the legal requirements in terms of reducing its impact on the environment? Is it something that your customers value? So perhaps pause the recording and jot down some ideas about your organisation and the environment. Okay, reducing environmental impact. We've mentioned one already, investing in new machinery that is perhaps more efficient, that can reduce electricity use, that will reduce our personal expenses for the organisation and reduce carbon footprint. In terms of our products, do we produce environmentally friendly products? And these will appeal to the more ethically minded customers. Product packaging as well. Perhaps making this from recycled materials. So these are all good. These are all good things that we should shout about from the rooftops. And think about, does your organisation promote these initiatives and sell them when they're talking to their clients? That brings us to the end of this recording. When we return, we'll be looking at our 3 sustainability initiatives of environmental, economic, and social. Hi, let's now look at sustainability initiatives. As we've said already, there are 3 areas we need to consider when looking at our corporate social responsibility and being sustainable. So we will consider what a business can do under the headings of environmental, first of all. And this is looking at our carbon footprint. The second area we can look at is economic sustainability. And here we can ask ourselves, Are we going to maintain a profit? A profitable approach to business. Are we going to maintain a profitable approach to business in the long term? And the third area is social sustainability. Are we operating in a way that society will allow, that has a positive impact on the people around us? So let's look at each of these individually. We'll start with environmental sustainability. So, environmental sustainability is operating in an environmentally sustainable manner. We're looking at the carbon footprint. We're looking at the impact on the world around us. And it says in the notes here that for your assessment, you need to have an understanding of the actions the business, in particular the finance function, can take to help the organisation reduce its impact on the environment. Because us in the finance function itself might not have a negative impact on the environment itself, but the whole organisation might do. For example, if you work for a manufacturing plant with lots of environmental emissions, as finance, you can work out what we can do to reduce that environmental impact of the manufacturing plant. We can collect statistics, we can analyse data and see what can be done in a more positive light. It will impact on the reputation of the business and the customer view of the business, and it will also have an impact on costs. So, finance are an important function. We might need to work out whether we need to spend more money in the short term, but hopefully in the long term it will be more worthwhile. So, in terms of the environment, we can recycle what we use, we can reuse. So, can we reuse components? And we can reduce. Can we reduce consumption in the first place? So, things we can do to help. Let's have a look at recycling first of all. The organisation should have policies and procedures in place to recycle. You may see recycling bins within your workplace for paper and cardboard, etc. It helps to reduce waste and reduce disposal costs for a business. We can source supplies from recycled materials, so we can buy in recycled materials to make our products, and perhaps that might be at a lower cost as well, so we'll get cost advantage. In terms of the product we actually produce ourselves, this could be recyclable as well. Our tangible good can be recycled very easily. Let's have a look at lecture example 2. What could the finance department do to recycle more? Think about on a day-to-day basis within your organisation. What we could do is source recycled paper to print on. When we do print, we could print on both sides of the paper to reduce paper usage using half the amount of paper. We could use old documents that are no longer needed as scrap or note paper. making sure, of course, there is no confidential information on it. And we can have separate waste for paper, our recycling bins. Okay, so that's about recycling. We're now going to look at reusing and reducing. So, what can we reuse within the business? It says in the notes here we live in a world where so much of what we buy is used and disposed of, either when we just need to replace something or if it's become obsolete and we just no longer use it. So, a business can ask themselves, can we reuse these materials? As an example, in your workplace, you might have a water cooler that currently has plastic cups. What if your organisation were to actually change the machine so that you can use a mug instead of the plastic cups? You're reusing that mug over and over again. It could also be that we no longer use something in the finance department, but it can actually be used in another department. So if you have a high-tech design department and they use the latest computers for the design features, after a few years they'll need to upgrade to a more powerful computer to keep up to date with the latest designs. But those computers, although not useful in design, they could be passed on to the admin department and be used there. So it will reduce purchase costs. The waste produced by a business could be used by them to produce a new product or perhaps given to someone else to reuse. As an example here, Apple mobile phones. They take in old phones and they use some of the components in their brand new phones. Some businesses as well will actually donate their offcuts and seconds to schools and art groups to use as well. The third thing we can consider as an organisation under environmental sustainability is reducing. Reducing what a business uses will help also to reduce costs. So we have a few examples here. We could reduce our use of power, so reduce the amount of electricity used within the workplace, more efficient machinery or turning off lights. We could reduce the use of paper within the organisation, creating the idea of a paperless office. Or we could reduce the amount of water used within the organisation. Let's put this into practice with lecture example 3, reducing consumption and costs. So this is referring to the consumption of power, paper and water that we've just mentioned. Think about how a business may reduce the consumption of these. Think about your organisation here. So, reducing the use of power, first of all, an organisation could invest in energy efficient lights, have a policy on the use of lights, invest in motion sensors so electricity and lighting is only used when there are people in the area. Reduce the number of electrical items if possible. Reduce the amount of packaging. This will mean less machine time and energy to produce the packaging. And reducing mileage travelled, both of the products you're selling and also the staff commuting to work. Okay, consumption of paper. creating the idea of a paperless office, or becoming more paperless. So only print if necessary. There's no need to print emails. They are always there for reference. Use recycled paper. Print double-sided, as we mentioned earlier. And instead of sending out paper copies of invoices to customers, you could be emailing them instead. Right, finally, in terms of water consumption and how we reduce this, we could have good maintenance of equipment. Good maintenance of equipment can reduce the amount used. Low flush toilets and recycling water where possible. So all of these reduce consumption and costs as well. Okay, so that was looking at environmental sustainability. We're now going to move on and look at economic sustainability. Number 2. Economic sustainability is the ability for an organisation to continue to operate long term in the future. And this area of sustainability, lots of companies prioritise this without any thought for anything else. So, what do we mean with economic sustainability? It's about identifying various strategies and plans that make it possible to use available resources to the best advantage. And this will mean that a business can continue to function over a number of years while consistently returning a profit. So it considers pricing policies to ensure that products are at a sustainable level. You want the right price. You don't want prices to be too high because they won't sell, and you don't want them too low because you won't cover costs and you'll make a loss. You also need to consider investment to encourage a long term focus of the business, so perhaps investing in new machinery to grow in the future. And reputation is economic sustainability. Publicising our investment, making it good for PR and attracting new customers, so we have growth into the future. Our third area of sustainability is social sustainability. We don't exist in a bubble. We do have an impact on the world around us. And with social sustainability, we're looking at operating in a way that is being compatible with society. So we consider staff, employees, customers, and the greater community as well. It's about how we manage our corporate social responsibility. What we want to do is we want to make a positive, beneficial impact on the community and the environment in which we operate. And this can be locally or also on a global scale. Finally, there is a sustainability profitability trade off. Investing in sustainability initiatives can actually come at a significant cost. So, if we invest, our costs increase. These additional costs will actually have the impact of reducing the profitability for a business. So, directors of organisations do need to sit down, they need to work out if investing in CSR is worthwhile. So, they might do a cost benefit analysis to establish this. They should also consider the potential cost of not investing in sustainability, perhaps through lost business, increased power and resource costs, and damage to the business reputation. Because do remember that lots of stakeholders now, whether they're internal or external, do want to deal with more sustainable, ethical organisations. Hi, welcome back. We're going to now have a look at social sustainability in lecture example 4, called positive social impact. So, the question we need to think about here is what could an organisation do to have a positive impact on the following? And we have three areas to consider: the local community, employees, and customers. So, thinking about the social impact. Have a think about these, pause the recording, and jot down a few ideas. Okay, in terms of the local community, what an organisation can do is make donations to local projects. They could sponsor local teams, recruit and employ local people, and investigate and invest in perhaps new machinery to not increase, reduce emissions. For employees, offer a fair wage. So rather than minimum wage, offer a living wage or more. Invest in training and developing the employees. Perhaps offer gym membership that is subsidised, a healthy canteen, looking after the well-being of the employees, and offering benefits, additional benefits beyond statutory, such as healthcare. And finally, having a think about customers, offering ongoing support. So once the customer has purchased from us, that's not the end of our relationship with them. Ongoing support, perhaps maintenance of products, if they're white goods, for example. Offering good customer support, support and advice when needed. And selling recyclable products. You may have had a number of other ideas which would also be relevant. Okay, we've now got a few more lecture examples on general sustainability initiatives. So this could cover our environmental, social, or economic. In lecture example 5, it asks us which of the following are sustainability initiatives which a business may implement. So covering all three areas. The first one is always buy the cheapest materials. Now, buying the cheapest materials might be good for an organisation because it reduces cost. So, economically, it's sustainable as a lower cost base. But cheap may also refer to cheap quality. And if we have cheap quality, there's a risk that the product breaks. There's a risk we have to use more material to make the final product, and we might find there is more waste in production. So, not sustainable. The second one we have here is purchase from local suppliers only. This is a good one. If we purchase from local suppliers, there are minimal travel costs and distances as well. So it reduces our carbon footprint and helps people locally. So a good one there. The opposite to that is importing all materials from overseas. Definitely not sustainable and good for the environment. A significant carbon footprint and impact on the environment. The final one here is reuse material offcuts for other products. So no longer being thrown away, no longer being waste. This reusing of offcuts is economic and environmental sustainability. So another one we can tick there. Lecture example 6 follows the same idea, but obviously different scenarios here. Which of the following are sustainability initiatives which a business may implement? The first one here is have lighting on automatic motion sensors. What this will do will reduce power usage. It's environmental sustainability. The lights will only stay on when somebody is actually in the area. So, a nice one to have in an organisation. Also helps with costs as well, reducing costs. The second one, have a company policy that all computers are switched off at the end of the day. This will reduce power usage. All computers will be switched off overnight. So we're not paying for electricity for those, 16 hours of the day. So cost saving and sustainable. The third one is related. It says have a company policy that all computers are put on standby at the end of the day. Well, not as good as turning the computers off. Why would we keep them on standby when we can switch them off? They do still consume a small amount of power when they're on standby, so I'm not going to tick that one. The final one is invest in low flush toilets. This reduces water usage, it's environmental sustainability, so let's tick that one as well. And finally, we have lecture example 7, the same question again, but different scenarios. Which of the following are sustainability initiatives which a business may implement? So more scenarios to look at here. Arrange conference calls instead of face-to-face meetings. Well, this is great because it reduces travel time to the office, it reduces the carbon footprint, it helps the environment, and it also saves us as individuals time. So it's economic sustainability because we can be more productive doing things for the workplace instead of sitting in the car traveling to the workplace. The second one is to introduce a paperless office policy. And this is a good one. We might not be able to be 100% paperless, but it does help to reduce the paper use in the environment. The third one is to ensure all emails are printed off and filed for future reference. No need whatsoever. If you need to refer back to emails, they're already stored there for future reference. We're gaining nothing by printing off emails, so I'm not going to tick that one. The final one is to source suppliers who have a responsible environmental policy. We might pay a little bit more um, for our environmental suppliers who have their own environmental policies, but by doing this, we're actually showing that there is demand for being responsible, and that's what